Canada has played an integral and key role in the evolution and increase in popularity of the sport of basketball across the country, with the NBA currently in the midst of their social and racial justice movement, the middle of their playoff stretch, and with the Raptors recently experiencing the height of success in the pinnacle of the sport. There's no better time than now for the National Basketball League of Canada to step to the forefront, support the NBA, and promote the growth and expansion of their own league. Audley Stephenson is the Deputy Commissioner of the National Basketball League of Canada. He joined me this week to discuss how his league is supporting the NBA in their push for change and how he's using this as a growth opportunity to promote basketball and the National Basketball League of Canada on the national stage. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Fantastic. Well, I want to take this opportunity, Adley, to welcome you to the show, and we're excited to talk to you about the National Basketball League of Canada this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Again, thank you. Appreciate you reaching out, Kevin.
So, Adley, when we look at the state of the National Basketball League of Canada, I'm wondering your thoughts on the strides you've made in sort of growing the league, and where you think progress still needs to be made.
Well, I think what we're doing, reflection of the game of basketball in Canada as a whole. We are going into our 10th season, so we've been doing this for a little while, and I can promise you that there weren't no other leagues at that time. The idea of having professional basketball in Canada, where homegrown players can stay home and play in their country instead of going overseas, wasn't a thing that was thought of, or it may have been a dream maybe to some, but it never. There weren't any real, I want to say serious launches, because there certainly were attempts made, but they didn't have any sort of longevity of success. So in 2011, which also happened to coincide with the NBA lockout year, is when the league started. And year after year after year, I mean, the thing that's been clear is that our Canadians on the Canadian level have been improving, and again, allowing Canadians to be home and play home in their home country, in front of their family and friends, and not have to go overseas. It's been a treat, and so we really enjoyed the blossom and growth of the game from the Canadian standpoint. We expanded throughout our time. We expanded to several different markets, and have really proven that our country has an appetite and ready for the game of basketball. And certainly we want to continue that, and there's certainly our plans to move forward with that, and not only just advance our league, because this is really bigger than just NBL Canada. This is really about the game of basketball overall, and we're really happy with where things are going.
And I'm coming to you this morning from Windsor, so I'm wondering your thoughts on the impact that Windsor Expressive made on the league as a whole.
Well, they're two-time champions, so that's certainly they've left their mark in the history books in that regard. And year after year, Dardis Willis and his team have continued to put a competitive product on the floor. They've done an incredible job in outreach into the community in different aspects, different areas in Windsor and Essex County, where it can expand and reach to. So they've done an incredible job from that standpoint, and they've just really made their mark in terms of being a presence. Kevin, one of the things that I oftentimes talk about is, we're not just here to play basketball in our communities. We're very much a part of our communities, and I think Windsor's done a phenomenal job doing just that.
And I'm just curious to know your thoughts on the role that your league has to play in sort of supporting the NBA social justice movement and the opportunity you think your league has to have in sort of using that platform to sort of grow the popularity of your league as well.
Yeah, I don't want to confuse the two issues. I think it's important that, the social justice movement and what's happening in the larger world is very real to a lot of people and very impactful. And so it's not necessarily connected to, or not about sort of, here's an opportunity for NBL Canada to grow its brand. But at the same time, I think our league, like any other league or individual or group for that matter, does have a voice, and there's a responsibility to use that voice and speak when there's an opportunity. This is something our league has done in the past, different instances throughout the last few years that we've spoken up and just reminded everyone, the general population, our fans, our sponsors, our partners, our friends, sort of where the league's position is, in terms of social injustice and racial injustice, something that we don't stand for, and we believe in equality as a league.
And tell me, I'm just curious to also get your thoughts on the quality of play in the NBA bubble and what you've seen so far.
Well, it's very different. I think that's something that it took a little getting used to. I mean, no fans in the building. You've got television monitor, TV monitors with people watching in front of their computers, and so that takes a little bit getting used to. I'd imagine for the players, that's a bit of adjustment as well. I've heard various players sort of talk about the fact that they get a rush from the crowd, and they get a sense of enjoyment from having the home crowd cheer their name. And now you're in a situation in a bubble where there is no home crowd advantage. Everyone, it's 0-0 really, and you don't have that advantage. And with the Raptors as an example, you think the 20,000 people not inside the Scotiabank Arena, the 30,000 are outside that in Jurassic Park, and all the screaming and the love and the support that they show their team. So I certainly think that's very different. I believe that it does have an impact to a certain degree on the quality of play, but it really depends on the individual who you are. You've seen some players in the earlier rounds, you saw Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray exchange 50-point games as an example, which has been some thrilling performances, some history-setting performances. But then you might have others that don't respond and perform that same way. So I think it really comes down to the player individually and how they respond. Myself personally, I found it really entertaining. There have been some great games to watch, Kevin. Really, really, really competitive, hard-nosed basketball, and that's really where I get the fun out of. So yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot.
And tell me, how do you think the Raptors' success recently can help your league grow in sort of popularity and interest at all?
Well, again, I think it helps grow the game. That's kind of what they do and what they've done. And certainly, there's still a far way to go, I think. I don't think we're the game of basketball is sort of on the main, the main forefront, if you will. But as time is going on, we're getting closer and closer. And again, the Raptors winning a championship, their playoff success, all of those things feed into it and help keep the game of basketball in the forefront. And that certainly is an opportunity for our league to benefit from, for sure.
And in the next 3 to 5 years, how do you want to see the National Basketball League of Canada grow?
Well, we've been doing a good job in reaching out to these smaller communities. I mean, you sort of think about it, on on a Saturday night when there's a basketball game, in Moncton, the entire community is there. And they're enjoying the product, they're enjoying the brand, whether that be in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, St. John's, Newfoundland, all over the Maritimes. You're seeing that as being the place to be. And that's a big deal for those who aren't close to Toronto or the GTA and don't have the wherewithal to come on downtown Toronto to watch a basketball game. So certainly, I think there's lots of communities in which our league still can advance to and be a part of and grow in, and that's what we'll certainly continue to do. We've had lots of conversations at different points with levels of interest. And that's really exciting again for the game. So certainly growth is always on the forefront, and getting bigger and stronger and really making basketball, elevating the platform of basketball is really what our main interest is about.
And you mentioned before that the league's been around for about 10 years now. So what do you think has been the shining achievement of the league since its inception?
I think just the fact that it's been 10 years, Kevin, I think you hit the nail right on the head. No league has ever done this before. We can proudly say that we're Canada's longest standing professional basketball league. There's certainly been other attempts. There are other leagues that have come up and have, not been able to have this type of success and longevity that we've had. So I think that's a huge accomplishment. Especially, I can vividly remember and recall some of the pundits going, "Well, it's not going to last. Basketball doesn't have a place here in Canada. This is a hockey country." And we've proven that we absolutely do have a place. That the sport does have an appetite. The Canadians have an appetite for the sport, and there's definitely interest in the game of basketball. So, without question, that is one of the things that we are most proud of.
I've got two more for you. The first has to do with
Sure.
What excites you most about the future of basketball in Canada?
Well, Kevin, I grew up loving the game as a kid. I was always a fan. The 90s basketball, that was my era, and I grew up watching the Jordans and the Barkleys and the Ewings, and all that whole era was just, and going back further with the Magic and the Birds. That was my era. I loved it, and now to see the game grow and to see the advancement of it, it's just really, really exciting. It's really, it pumps me to see it on the forefront, and to know that we can play a part or have a hand in this is just huge. So that, when you talk about excitement, that is it for me. I've seen firsthand when I visit some of our communities and in some of the cities where we have our games. I see the excitement of the fans. Young kids wanting to learn the game. Their ability, they have now the ability to interact with some of these players directly, go up and shake their hand and say hi, get a high five before the game. Those are all the things that really make me feel good about what we're doing, and does definitely excite me.
My final question for you is, I know that in your previous life you spent some time in the journalism and music realm and your hip hop radio show. So could you tell me how that experience has helped you in your current role, and what you may miss from your previous role as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that I've always said that life is a collection of experiences, Kevin. And throughout our journeys, we'll become into circumstances or experiences or situations where we'll either gain something or garner something or learn something new. And I think that there's one thing that I feel I've done a good job at is throughout my journey, I picked up things and I've learned things, and I even going before I was doing a classic hip hop radio program, and before that I had a basketball podcast. There was a point in time where I was a professional speaker, and I had a feature on speaking on leadership development and talking about how that's important from a personal development standpoint. I've got experience working with the government, provincial and federal governments, so I've learned some things there just in terms of protocols and different things of that nature. So I think for me, I've just done a really, really good job of taking all I've learned and bring them all together into this current role. And I think in a lot of different areas it's helped me. When I think back when I first came to NBL Canada back in 2011, I used to do player interviews. I was a media guy and I was a broadcaster, and that was a direct, all that experience and all I brought was a direct correlation to my basketball podcast, where I regularly interviewed NBA players all the time, and so I took from that experience and I brought that to NBL Canada. But I had developed that expertise, and then it certainly was beneficial and fruitful to the league. So I think I've done a good job sort of collecting all that I've done and bringing it together into one format and applying it. And as far as what I miss, I do miss that. The interview aspect is a lot of fun. And that's why, when I get interview requests such as yourself, I jump at them because I enjoy this opportunity to share and interact and dialogue and engage and communicate. So, and that's always been a strength or interest of me. So, that's when we talk about what I miss and that aspect of it. It's that definitely would be it.
Audley, I want to thank you for a few minutes on talking to us about the future of the National Basketball League of Canada, the strides the league has made, and where they hope you really enjoyed the conversation. And I want to thank you for your time this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, listen, Kevin, I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. Thank you for reaching out. You do a phenomenal job, and all the best.